Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I'm an awfully lucky guy. You know, people say it's just the hardest thing you've ever been through. I had to tell my 2-year-old kid he had cancer. This is a piece of cake. And I mean that. I mean, I work for a great university, great people.
And then in my young 60s, I always said, there's no way I would coach in my 70s. And then all of a sudden it gets here. And you say, well, why would you not keep coaching if things are going well and they want you?
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Hope you had a great weekend. Lots to talk about, lots to look forward to tonight and in the week ahead here on Sports Talk. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, and the Steak Man Graham Pope. 800-956-7266 if you want to jump on the program to talk about things that are on your mind in the sports world from the weekend. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Got a great show for you coming up tonight. At 6:30, Josh Kendall from GoGamecocks.com and thestate.com. The man who worked out with Steve Spurrier, showed off his chests along with Spurrier, and wrote a lot of good stuff about Spurrier over the weekend and today, this being Spurrier's 70th birthday. He'll join us at 6:30. 7:10, new Clemson basketball point guard Shelton Mitchell will be here with us on Sports Talk. Plus, we'll look back at a great Heritage golf tournament, RBC Heritage, except for the weather, which was still kind of crummy. That's a couple of years in a row we've had pretty lousy weather down at Harbortown. Can't put up with that much longer. But it was a great finish. Congratulations to Jim Furyk, who ran in the birdie putt on the second extra hole to defeat Aiken's Kevin Kisner. Terrific tournament with terrific scores. Great race at Bristol last night. A lot of good NBA playoff action. One thing I noticed in the opening game of the Boston-Cleveland series, guys, is that the Celtics are not going to get a call. I can see that already. We're just not going to catch a break from the officials. So this looks like it's going to be kind of a 5-on-8 kind of thing for the men in green.
Well, y'all know. Y'all did it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask the late Wilt Chamberlain about that.
Can't ask him. He's dead.
Well, Jim Furyk, it's interesting. Jim Furyk may have started something that he didn't want to. And that is the slam the putter down celebration. Because I was looking at it, I was saying, what did he just do?
Well, he hadn't won in 5
years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Tiger slammed his hat down once at the Arnold Palmer tournament.
Oh, yeah. But
that's when people really hated Tiger. When he did it, it made people mad.
I think it's great that golfers show emotion.
See, I would have thrown – that was on 17. So he could have, slung it into the marsh, something really cool like that.
Kind of like Rory did with his driver a few weeks ago. Congratulations to USC. Great weekend for them. Not one, but 2 national championships picked up.
Smells a little fishy to me.
Yeah.
Equestrian and fishing.
Or do they give the fish like a gold hook? They throw them back. Okay, you get to live. You get to live for helping us win this national championship.
They fried them up.
Just like with the horses, I guess. The horses get a little extra hay or something.
Have a fish fry to celebrate.
Championship. We'll be right back. And we're back at Sports Talk from downtown Main Street, Columbia. Sports Talk, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. 800-956-7266 is the number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. The website is sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at sportstalksc. And the Twitter timeline was smoking over the weekend. Appreciate all your participation. Your comments, good, bad, doesn't matter. We appreciate your thoughts. You don't have to agree with us. Share your opinion. That's what sports is all about. Two people can see the same thing and see it in totally different directions, and we're more than happy to discuss your viewpoint. It does not have to agree with ours, and vice versa, by the way. And on Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. 800-956-7266. Again, the number if you want to join us. Great show coming up for you. Josh Kendall in a little bit. We'll have some fun with Josh talking about his experience hanging out with Spurrier in the weight room the other day. And Spurrier as he hits the big 7-0 today. And again, as Spurrier said in Josh's comments, and as it appeared to me over spring, he does appear to be rejuvenated. He does appear to be excited about things again after going through that up and down roller coaster season. I think the hiring of John Hoke really has invigorated him and given him a feeling that the defense will be improved and the offense will be good enough to where they can be competitive and have a chance. Interesting that in his comments to Josh and talking about last season, of course, he pointed out quite clearly that the defense had a lot of problems, but he was fair in saying as well that the offense a couple of times when they could have stayed on the field to help win a game in the fourth quarter, they didn't get their job done either. But he said that he told Dylan Thompson, Connor Shaw had a defense that gave up 20 points per game, and we won all these games, and you had a defense that gave up 30 points per game or more, and that's the only difference between your 7-6 season Connor Shaw had the previous year. So good stuff from Spurrier. The state did a great job sort of celebrating this moment. I mean, 70 is it's a big time birthday, especially for somebody in a high profile position as a college football coach as Steve Spurrier is. And he seems to be taking it all in stride and feeling good about things and ready to move forward with no end in sight. I don't think he's ready to paint himself in the corner again by saying X number of years, give me X number of years, and we'll go from there. I think he's going to leave it open-ended and just go from there and see how the football program progresses.
Well, as long as Bill Snyder's 75 and still at Kansas State, he'll point, well, I'm not the oldest.
I would be shocked if Steve Spurrier is coaching at the age of 75. I just would be. I don't think he'll be coaching long. I think the 2 or 3 years is what you should expect from Steve Spurrier. But, it's up to him. And I don't think it would be a bad thing. If they win 11 games next year and win the SEC, not predicting that, but if that were to happen, I think he would definitely ride off into the sunset if they had a big season. If they win 6 games next year, he might say, you know what? I got better things to do than this. So I just don't see him doing more than 2 or 3 more years at where he is now in his career, what he's accomplished. That's my prediction.
You got to have a plan, I think, from a mental standpoint. And some coaches, they keep coaching because that's all they know. And the young people keep them young, teaching young people. Others have, I think, the Bear Bryant fear. Bear retires, boom. He didn't last, 8 months. I mean, it's almost like you got to have something to do. So if you do leave the coaching profession, I'm sure that Steve Spurrier will find golf or some other avocation to keep him busy.
Well, here are some of the points in Spurrier's A Long Life, taken from a book written by Dr. Spurrier, according to the story in the state, keeps several photocopies of this list on his desk. And some of the suggestions for a long life include hours of sleep. In other words, get a lot of sleep, eat real food, grow a garden.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Does marijuana count?
No.
Sure.
No. Eat one balanced meal, no seconds or thirds. Reduce stress at work.
Mhm.
How do you do that if you're a
Well,
football coach?
for me, it would be
frankly, Scarlett.
Nah, come on. You cannot avoid the stress of the job.
But I'm
as a
saying,
football coach.
but mentally, you have to just say, frankly, Scarlett. I give a damn, but I don't.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Spurrier doesn't ever seem particularly stressed. He did seem a little
Tennessee
stressed.
game?
Yeah, that was on Spurrier like though. I mean, for
After
him,
Clemson in the early years, up there, Ron, what do you want me to do? Remember that Q&A with Ron Morris? Ron, what do you want me to do? After the Gamecock offense did nothing. Drink 1 or 2 glasses of red wine only. Have a wife, husband, or good pal to live with. Take baby aspirin. 1. I'm just skipping through here. Pursue your passions, travel, golf, fishing, etc. Be positive.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Learn CPR. How are you going to do that to yourself?
Yeah, that's right.
Have an emergency supply kit. Have a good joke or laugh daily. Okay, get that.
Yeah.
Have children.
Check.
No, well,
Trust
I
me,
have
I think
children,
that
but
could be
don't have
debated.
children.
Have children, but I don't have. Get a dog.
He works with a couple every night.
Have a will.
Huh?
This is interesting. Avoid sunburns. Now, how does a sunburn, besides just being painful,
He's thinking about melanoma.
melanoma,
probably.
cancer,
Yeah.
maybe? Don't be a smoker. Get plenty of sleep. Those are some of the things that Spurrier follows on a daily basis. 50 ways to save your life. Speaking of Spurrier, he will once again be in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl Golf Challenge in Greensboro, Georgia. It's going to be teaming with Sterling Sharp once again. Dabo Sweeney will team with Steve Fuller. I mention this because Spurrier and Sharp, in their years of playing in this event, in this tournament, all time.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Well, they're pretty good golfers.
One's a quarterback and the other's a wide receiver, and he throws to him.
Who do you think is the #1 team of all time in terms of money won? Spurrier and Sharp have won $427,000.
The #1 team all time?
All
Or is
time.
it still an active coach?
Yes, very active. Think boring. Think painfully boring to listen to.
Painfully boring to listen
But
to.
very effective as a coach.
But very
Belichick?
effective.
It is Bill Belichick.
No, it's got to be an SEC coach,
SEC
right?
coach,
SEC.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
SEC coach.
Well, it used to be like Tommy Tuberville's in it. He's from Cincinnati now, but used to be an SEC coach or an ACC coach. Could be SEC.
Yeah,
or
I
ACC.
mean, the most Jackie Sherrill was the most
no,
boring SEC
no.
coach of all time.
I'll save you the trouble. Paul Johnson and John Barry.
Well, Paul Johnson's an ACC coach.
Yeah. SEC or ACC coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$582,000.
You said it. I thought we
They
were thinking.
Yeah,
that
Paul Johnson can send in a zinger now and then.
Nah, I've never heard
Yeah.
from him. 800-956-7266. Let's jump to the phones here. Give you more notes here coming up, and we'll have Josh with us here in just a moment. Jim and Rock Hill, welcome to Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
I'm doing good. You mentioned about Bear Bryant lasting 8 years. Bear Bryant coached I forget, it was against Illinois. It was something like the Liberty Bowl or something like that in late December. And then either in late January or February, he passed away. That was in 1982. I think it would have been 83 when he died, but I think it was in late December 82. Bill, have any kind of rankings of players who will be seniors and even some who might be juniors or even sophomores this coming year in the high school ranks in South Carolina? Has any kind of rankings been established yet that indicate who's #1? Two,
Yeah. I mean, you can go to any of the recruiting websites, and they'll give you rankings. They'll give you rankings down to the 5th grade if you want them badly enough. But, yeah, there have been rankings established for those age groups. We'll be right back.
Retire? I remember one time I asked Donald Trump, when do you think you'll retire?
We got Josh Kendall coming up from GoGamecocks.com, thestate.com in just a couple of minutes. He sat down with Spurrier after working out with Spurrier last week, leading up to Spurrier's 70th birthday today. And here's a little audio that the state made available from that interview in which Spurrier talks about the idea of retiring, and the thought might have crossed his mind once or twice last season. Of course, it's out of his mind now, but at some point in time, he did think about it. And here is Spurrier kind of picking up on that subject with Josh.
Retire? I remember one time I asked Donald Trump, when do you think you'll retire? He said, retire. Retire? I remember one time I asked Donald Trump, when do you think you'll retire? He said, retire, why? He said, that's for people that hate their job. I said, you know what, you're probably right, aren't you? If you enjoy what you're doing and it's going pretty well, it's not too stressful. I was 45 when I started at Florida, and I was actually 60 when I started here.
Yeah.
So if I'd started when I was a young coach, I could have a bunch of records by now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just started later than most of them. No, just kidding. I've been very fortunate and very thankful to Mike McGee in South Carolina that he hired me in for the 05 season. I mean, there's not many ADs go out and hire a coach that actually, just because of his age, you'd think, well, let's go get a 45-year-old guy and hope he'll be here 10 years or more. And but one thing I'm glad I did say was down at the Sumter Gamecock Club meeting that first year that my goal was to be the winningest coach here, and that means I'm going to stay here 8-10 years or so. That was my plan.
Right.
And certainly that's what's happened. Yeah, I tell people I was saying 45 years when I was really in my 50s. And I remember saying, I doubt seriously I'll coach into my 60s. Yeah. And then in my young 60s, I always said, there's no way I'm going to coach in my 70s. And then all of a sudden it gets here. And you say, well, why would you not keep coaching if things are going well and they want you? If they don't want you, then you need to move on, of course. But the fans here and President Pastides and athletic director Ray Tanner, I tell you what, they're the best. You can't get better people than those to work for. And the fans have been very appreciative. And when I do those Gamecock Club meetings, the old time Gamecock people, they're still very appreciative. Yeah. Oh yeah. They know where we have been in the past. So hopefully we can do some good. I'm doing what I've been doing. I got the same off-season schedule, and we got the same schedule. We got different team, and away we go.
All right, Steve Spurrier, as he was talking with Josh Kendall last week about the future, as he turned 70 years young today, and Josh will join us coming up after the break.
Okay, good. That'll be interesting to see what happens. Who pushed whom?
Well, based on what Josh had to say on his website, he was the one getting pushed. Maybe getting dragged might be a better description. We'll have Josh coming up in a moment. It's Sports Talk on a Monday night from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblue, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, all together from our beautiful Learfield studios on Main Streets in downtown Columbia. Appreciate you being with us tonight. We'll work in more phone calls as we move along. Shelton Mitchell coming up a little bit later, the new Clemson point guard for the future. Mike Morgan will be here with our Braves reports and recruiting coming your way as well. But right now, welcome in our good friend Josh Kendall from GoGamecocks.com and TheState.com. He had a very busy week last week, hanging out with Steve Spurrier, working out with Steve Spurrier, writing about Steve Spurrier, who celebrated his 70th birthday today. And Josh, first of all, thank you so much for being with us. Love the picture of you and Spurrier after the workout. The thing that jumped out to me the most was just how hairy your chest is. I never realized that you were that hairy.
Very virile, Phil. Very virile. Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you enjoy your time in the weight room with Spurrier? Was it taxing for you?
It was. It absolutely was taxing for me. I think I wrote, that I probably consider myself right dead smack average in America, in an America that's not in very good shape in terms of physical condition. But yeah, it was taxing for me. A couple of things I couldn't keep up with, but it was a lot of fun. It really was. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it would be awkward or weird, but it turned out to be a lot of fun, and I thought the video came out really well.
I did too. Did Spurrier, during the workout with you, it seemed like he was all business. He wasn't in there just to put on a show for you or joke around. He was seriously grinding in there and doing his daily thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what he does. There was no put on in that. It was, he was conversational and he told in some interesting stories, some of which I tried to get in there in that piece. But there's no question that was his workout, and that's what he does. He wouldn't do it any differently, I don't believe, if there were no cameras there.
Now, Josh, we all know Spurrier isn't shy about taking little jabs, and as you were struggling to keep up, was he subtly, maybe sticking a few jabs your direction?
Yeah, but I think it was subtle enough to be, to not be rude. He could have been a lot worse, I think, within his right to be a lot worse. But he made a few Spurrier comments. I would hesitate to even call them jabs, but he made a few comments, and I deserved it at the time. None of them were out of line.
Now, of the workouts that you guys did, the different things, what impressed you the most about what he did? He doesn't use, as you pointed out, he doesn't use real heavy weights and things of that nature, but of the most strenuous things that you guys did that he seemed to handle with the great ease, what kind of stood out?
The core stuff, the amount of core stuff he does, the sort of flexibility that he's got in his core. He does a lot of reps on core stuff. He's still very flexible in terms of how he can get up and move around. And his core strength, I honestly think, has kept him from having to have back surgery, because he's got a bad back. Apparently x-rays of his back are, really painful to look at. And several doctors who have seen him have said, you need to have back surgery. His doctor has said, no, you don't. We don't put you through that. You can still get around, and it's because of that core strength. So I think that served him very, very well.
You talked about his flexibility and core strength. Is that done because of his golf game? It almost seems that even his workout attire reminds him that he's a golfer. I don't see many people. I wear a raggedy sweatshirt when I'm on the treadmill. I'm not the guy that's wearing a classy golf shirt with a golf vest. But what about his workout attire?
Yeah, it's specifically so he will sweat. He thinks you got to break a sweat for it to be a workout. So he wears that. It's kind of an old Under Armour sweater vest thing. It's pretty. And he says it helps him break a sweat, which is the only reason he wears it. So I don't think there's anything to it beyond that. In terms of his golf game, yeah, I'm sure that has to do with some of his core strength and his desire to maintain that flexibility. There's no question.
Talking with Josh Kendall from GoGamecocks.com and State.com. If you haven't read his stuff from over the weekend, do so. Great stuff about Spurrier. You got really close with him in these features, and his comments about the season I thought very revealing, and his comments about, one time or two, maybe the idea of retiring crossed his mind, and then he sort of shrugged it off and decided to make some changes, and hiring Hoke has really re-inspired him to continue for who knows how much longer.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's any plan. I don't think that there is a 1-year plan, a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan. It's just Steve Spurrier's going to do it as long as it's fun. That may mean this year's his last year. That may mean he coaches until he's 78. We don't know, and I honestly don't think he knows.
Of course, it was you who contacted him the Monday after the Clemson loss and he uttered the words, give me 2 or 3 more years, and that really started the chaos there for a little while. So it really depends on when you reach him to ask him that kind of question, right? Because if he's in a down moment, he's liable to say anything.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, if they lose 3 or 4 at some point again this year, and we get a hold of him Monday or Tuesday, you may say the very same thing. There's no question. I think it very much turns based on the circumstances.
What did you take from watching their spring practice in terms of progress in the spring? How much did you see?
Well, I don't. I'm never a guy who feels like I can pinpoint exactly what you're going to see in the fall based on the spring. It's just, it's just not the same thing. I think that Marquavius Lewis looks the part. There's no reason to think he won't make a huge difference. And if they can get any help on the defensive line, then that's going to make everything on defense easier. So, that's you've got to be better there, and I think we've seen some signs that they will be. So I think that was the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. How about on the offensive side? Did you see enough of Connor Mitch to be convinced that he can be a winning quarterback in the SEC?
I think he can. I think, this team, since I've been around them, they've managed to move the ball by hook or by crook. It hadn't always been pretty. It hadn't always been in the same fashion, but they've moved the ball, and I think they'll figure out a way to move the ball this year.
So what's next for you? You got some great plans, something you're working on related to Gamecock football that we'll see in the paper and on the website sometime in the future?
Not immediately. I've got to recharge now. I got to get myself back going again. So.
How taxing was that on you last week? Not just the workout, but all the other work you had to put into the various stories that you wrote.
It wasn't too bad. The workout was tough. The rest of it wasn't too bad. We spent a lot of time with him, but I thought it all came up together pretty well and pretty smoothly.
What kind of reaction have you gotten from fellow reporters and from the public, in particular to the picture of you and Spurrier with the shirt off?
A lot of well-deserved grief, I think. My wife is pretty embarrassed. My kids are pretty embarrassed, but yeah, I deserve some of that. I knew it was coming.
Well, I mean, look,
Josh, you were sucking in a little bit there.
I was going to say, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question I was.
I noticed.
There's no question.
I noticed various cavities on both of the bodies. What do you think of Spurrier's body?
Can't unsee that.
For 70, pretty good. I mean, if I look that good at 70, I'll take that. I'll sign that check right now.
I agree.
Corm would sign that check right now.
Yeah.
At his,
I'm
20
all
years
for
younger.
it. I'm all for it. Okay. Hey, Josh, thank you, man. Great job. Enjoyed your work on all that, and good luck in the future. We'll see you down the road.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You got it. All right. Josh Kendall from thestate.com, gogamecocks.com. And that had to be a lot of fun to hang with Spurrier and talk with him and kind of get his, you could tell in the comments that Spurrier was making, the audio that we played, that he was very relaxed. And when you get a guy that kind of subject, in that kind of relaxed mode, you're going to get some really good stuff from them because they're going to tell you what they're really feeling.
Was this done after the workout?
I think it was.
It looked post-workout.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because I will tell you that you talk about stress. If you're really going to work out, that's part of the deal is stressing your body out. And it's no more great feeling than after you're worn out, shower, relax. I think that's when you're at your most relaxed. And that was a good time to talk to him.
I did see a tweet. Now, today's April 20th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody did tweet that it's also Hitler's birthday today.
Is it?
That's what somebody tweeted.
I don't know.
Yeah. Check that out. Somebody's
come on.
Well,
it's also
some
Don Mattingly's birthday. So there you go. A good guy.
Yeah.
Even though he's
Great.
wearing the wrong colors, he's a good guy. I like Don Mattingly.
He's winning.
Don Mattingly would be how old now? He would be about 50. So he'd be in his 50s, wouldn't he? I would think.
Yes.
All right, we'll come back.
Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889.
Really? There you go. Be right back. love the picture of you and Spurrier after the workout. The thing that jumped out to me the most was just how hairy your chest is. I never realized that you were that hairy.
Very virile, Phil. Very virile. Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you enjoy your time in there? Was it All right, time for our Braves Report, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bower Parkway in Columbia, by Founders Credit Union, and by Mattress by Appointments. Real simple. You call, we save you 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. Call 803-530-8549. Mike Morgan joining us after a good weekend. The Braves, they go up to Toronto, and they take 2 out of 3, Mike.
Yeah, good news there. And I think the bigger story, if you want to kind of dissect what happened, is that they actually outscored Toronto. I think if you would have just said they take 2 out of 3 based on some really good frontline pitching by the top 3 guys in the rotation, you would have said, okay, won a couple of 3-2 games, maybe 4-2. But they just outslugged them, really. And that's not easy to do against Toronto in their ballpark. So that was impressive, to say the least. And you look at this offense right now, they're scoring more runs than they were last year. They're striking out less. They're running more. Pretty much everything is there. They're not hitting a ton of home runs, but we weren't expecting them to. But so far, I don't know if you want to call it addition by subtraction, but the offense has improved.
Yeah, I wonder how much talk there was with the that new turf they have in Toronto. The ball was definitely a lot slower than you're used to watching. And also, Mike, they should have swept. I mean, they had a 4-0 lead Saturday and let that get away. Is that a sign that, you know what, there some of those chinks in the bullpen that we've been waiting for?
Well, it's a part of the bullpen that I've mentioned is kind of the soft underbelly. It's the middle part, and I think sometimes we judge a bullpen just based on one guy, the closer. Well, the closer's been fine. Grilly has 6 saves and 6 opportunities, but it's the guys leading up to him that might be a little bit shaky. So if you only get, say, 5, 6 innings out of a starter, 6, 7, and 8, that's where the Braves have been strong in years past. That's where they're a little bit thin right now, and I think that you saw some of that in that game.
Can they rekindle the rivalry? Seems like the old days from just a few years ago, the Mets and Braves. Only thing missing is to just bring Chipper Jones back at third so the Mets fans could chant Larry all night.
Yeah, well, with all due respect to Chris Johnson, I think there are a lot of Braves fans that wouldn't mind seeing a 41-year-old Chipper at third for a couple of days, particularly in the Big Apple, where, as you mentioned, up for a career there, a Hall of Fame career. It's interesting. I mean, the Mets are good. This is not a fluke. I don't put too much stock in standings right now. I think it's way too early. But their 10-3 mark to me is not flukish because they have the pitching and they have some good young hitters, and this has been developing over time. I think their blueprint to get to this point is very similar to what the Braves are trying to do with cutting some of the fat, building up your farm system, bringing up young players, and letting them develop into eventually a good playoff roster. And I think that's what New York has really done. They've bit the bullet the last couple of years. Now I think they're at least ready to contend. Still think Washington's the class of the division, but I think the Mets could make it interesting.
What will be the rotation to start out that series based on where they are coming off the weekend? You know what, at this point?
Yeah, that's the not so good news is that you used up your top 3 arms in the Toronto series. So here come the 4 and 5 at you, Stoltz and Cahill, and that's not a real good 1-2 punch for Atlanta. Maybe they'll bounce back and maybe they'll show something, but so far they haven't shown much. And again, I think by the end of the year, this will not be your 4-5, but for now, that's what Freddie Gonzalez has to roll out there.
Mike, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night as we head into the first really big series of the season for the Braves as they play in New York against a red-hot Mets team. Mike Morgan with our Braves report exclusively here on Sports Talk. This afternoon actually began this morning, Patriots Day game in Boston to go along with the marathon, and the Red Sox big winners over the Orioles in a game shortened to 7 innings because of rain. Boston wins it 7-1. New York and Detroit about to get underway in Detroit. The Tigers have been red hot, but the Yankees swept the Rays over the weekend, so they're off to a pretty decent start. An abbreviated schedule the rest of baseball tonight. The Cubs at Pittsburgh, Cincinnati at Milwaukee, Cleveland at the White Sox, Minnesota at Kansas City, San Diego at Colorado, Oakland at the Angels, and Houston at the top of their division right now, only 6-6, I think, but much improved from that standpoint. Houston at Seattle coming up later on tonight. College baseball-wise, the new polls for this week, and the only team in South Carolina which is ranked is the College of Charleston. Coastal has dropped out after losing 2 of 3 to Radford. The college is 20th by Baseball America, by Collegiate Baseball, 27th, and by the coaches, they are 22. LSU basically number 1 for everybody. All right, recruiting here on a Monday night. We begin with some basketball. 6'2" point guard Shelton Mitchell, Waxhaw, North Carolina, transferring from Vanderbilt. He has committed to and signed with Clemson. We'll hear from him coming in early in our next hour. Really good pickup for the Tigers. He was a highly recruited player out of Oak Hill Academy and played decently in a backup role for Vanderbilt last season, averaging over 4 points and 3 assists per game. 6'6" Malik Ellison of Burlington, New Jersey, made his official to USC over the weekend with his father, Never Nervous Purvis Ellison. That was his second official visit, and he plans to take more. He's also been to Minnesota. Said he liked the campus and liked the coaching staff. Plus, he said there's a need for him at USC. Recently picked up an offer from Pittsburgh. He's also been considering Georgia Tech and Wake Forest, plus offers from Maryland, Cal, Temple, and Rutgers. 7-foot Connor Clifford, Saddleback Junior College, California, went to Utah over the weekend, has not yet made a decision, according to his coach, and they plan to meet Wednesday. He's also been to Washington State and USC, and coach said the Gamecocks remain very much in the thick of things. UNC Asheville transfer, 5'11", Andrew Rousey, plans to visit Marquette, NC State, and Virginia Tech, according to reports. USC has also contacted him. 6'6", Jarrell Brantley, Columbia native who attended Notre Dame Prep in Massachusetts, signed with the College of Charleston. 6'5", James Murray Boyles from AC Flora, signed with UNC Pembroke. Memphis landed a commitment today from Alabama transfer guard Ricky Tarrant. This has been confirmed to NBCSports.com. He is a former point guard at Alabama. He'll be eligible immediately. Clemson was one of the other schools he was considering, but he has gone ahead and committed to Memphis. Football, USC going hard after offensive lineman Brett Heggie, Mount Dora, Florida. He's highly interested in the Gamecocks, was there for their spring game, enjoyed his time there, met with Spurrier, met with Coach Sands, Coach Elliott. He's also been to Florida and Central Florida. No future visits are planned for the spring. Other offers include Cincy, Florida International, NC State, Central Florida, West Virginia, Indiana, Tulane, Memphis, Iowa State, and Georgia Southern. No favorites, no short list. Defensive back Thomas Jones of Lawrence has picked up more offers. Wake Forest, Vanderbilt, South Alabama, East Carolina. Earlier, USC, Duke, Charlotte, Miami of Ohio, and North Carolina offered. He went to Clemson's spring game. Wake Forest was in last week, as was USC recruiter Sean Elliott. He's also been in touch with Clemson's Brent Venables, but the Tigers are telling him they've got a lot of DBs and just be patient from their standpoint. Clemson today offered 2017 quarterback Lowell Narcisse, St. James, Louisiana, highly rated dual threat quarterback. LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Arizona State, some of the other offers. Linebacker Dante Evans of Lawrenceville, Georgia, was at Auburn over the weekend. He's a former South Carolinian. Offensive lineman Drew Watson of Bamberg Earhart was at East Carolina spring game Saturday and was offered by the Pirates. There you go with recruiting. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. Coming up, Shelton Mitchell will join us here on Sports Talk and talk about becoming a Clemson Tiger. He is more than a commitment. He has actually signed his financial aid papers, not really a letter of intent because he'd already done that coming out of high school. This will be financial aid papers. Let me correct something in my recruiting report. That should be Drew Wilson. My bad. I knew when I said it, it didn't look right or sound right. Drew Wilson, not Drew Watson from Bamberg. Earhart, who was at East Carolina spring game Saturday and was offered by the Pirates. Want to make sure we get the name right. Came back on our Twitter timeline. A lot of responses to number one, Chad Holbrook on Saturday after the win over Vanderbilt that clinched that series. And he was asked by a reporter what the couple of weeks had been like for him when the Gamecocks were struggling. And his response was, I've had to tell a 2-year-old you've got cancer, so this has been a piece of cake. People really responded to that comment, mostly in the positive way.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's perspective. And I think sometimes it's easy to lose that. People forget that sports are supposed to be fun and, it's supposed to be a release away from the real life grind of work and whatever else you have going on. But that being said, your team's not going to win all the time. Every game there's going to be a winning team and a losing team. That's guaranteed. And South Carolina baseball went in they hit a funk. I mean, they lost to Clemson and then they won 10 in a row and then something happened and they got in a little bit of a funk. And they have some issues on this team. I mean, they have some problems. And Holbrook said, look, all our problems aren't solved, but they kind of got their mojo back. I saw it Friday night. There was energy in that dugout. In the stands. It wasn't a big crowd. It was a nasty night, but you could see it kind of coming back. And they were playing South Carolina baseball again. But these people that wanted to run him out of town or run Jerry Meyer out of town, Esposito, guys that have been there for the duration of their success, it's just foolish. You've got to ride it out and you be upset, be mad, demand to know what's going on, what happened, how are you going to fix it? All that's fine. But when it gets bad to say, you're not our guy anymore, we want you fired, that's taking it to another level. And I think he just said, look, that doesn't bother me. I've been through enough in this world to get upset when some fair weather fans want to call for my head.
And I was there Saturday, and you saw, I think, what you touched on Friday, and then Saturday, they were trailing, and then the opportunity came for someone to deliver a big hit, and they got it from Logan Koch, a guy that was about a 240 hitter.
Two out.
And he delivered. So the point is, maybe now things are going to even out a little bit, and some of the breaks are going to fall their way, and they're going to start getting some of those timely hits and scoring some of those key runs to help them win some of these ball games. But it certainly was a big series victory for South Carolina. And Clemson went 2-0 over the weekend against Duke. Right back to Shelton Mitchell. Okay, we are in the process of trying to hook up with Shelton Mitchell, who is scheduled to be with us at this time. We'll continue to try to reach him here on the program. In the meantime, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. And our Twitter is @SportsTalkSC, @SportsTalkSC. We'll keep trying to reach Shelton. We had scheduled him for this time slot. And, of course, with students and kids, sometimes it's hard to get them to hold to the time commitment, but we'll hopefully be able to catch up with him in just a little bit. If you'd like to join us, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. As we were talking at the break, a good weekend for South Carolina baseball. The Gamecocks win an important series for them against Vanderbilt, and Clemson goes 2-0 again. Unfortunately, they have a game rained out that would have been important for them to play with a chance to pick up another win.
Yeah, 11-9 in the ACC as it is. They're over 500 now. That's the key. For like I said, I thought after Thursday, I said sometimes it's always darkest before the dawn. And after they lost 12-0, I said, you can't get any lower than that. And as you said, I thought I was very impressed. Wynkoop looked like a guy that says, look, we need a win, and I'm going to get it. What did he throw? 130-something?
131. And
wow.
And he said, they went back to the fastball. I talked to a guy after the game Friday night, a baseball guy that said the pitchers, he said even in the game Thursday night, the pitchers were doing a better job of establishing their fastball and getting ahead. With the new baseballs now, you have to be able to establish that fastball and dominate with that. And Wynkoop was relying a lot on fastballs, which is why he was able to stay in there. But Holbrook said, my game plan was get the ball to Wynkoop and tell him to bring it back to me when the game's over. And it worked out, and it enabled them to save Mincy and save Taylor Widener for the Saturday rubber game, which was big too. And Widener coming in and getting the job done. He got out of that jam in the 7th inning when they had a couple of guys on. That was South Carolina baseball, and they battled more than I've seen them battle in a long, long time. They just lost their way somehow, as Chad Holbrook said. He doesn't know how it happened, why it happened, but they found their way again against Vanderbilt. And he said it was going to take somebody stepping up and making a heroic performance, and Wynkoop was that guy on Friday night. And then you have other guys kind of step in. And even Friday, they had a 2-0 lead. Wynkoop gave up a 2-out, 2-run single. And the game's tied and going, they just, here it comes. But the very next inning, the bottom of the 7th, they answer back with 2 more, and then they get another one in the 8th. That's what good teams do, and they found a way. I'm with you, Corn. I think it does kind of start evening out eventually, where guys that have been scuffling, those balls start dropping. They find a hole, you catch a break, you get an out, you hit a line, something works out for you.
Yeah, and they still have some defensive breakdowns, like they had one against Vanderbilt. A throwing error on the catcher trying to catch a guy stealing and went right between the second baseman, the shortstop, to the outfield. And things like that lead to problems for you. They've had that kind of defensive issue from time to time throughout the season. But by and large, they played a pretty solid series against Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's scuffling a little bit right now too. Now, remember, they had lost 3 in a row coming into the South Carolina.
They've lost 2 consecutive SEC series.
2 consecutive series, 3 in a row coming in. So, they're kind of going through a little bit of a hard time themselves. So, and South Carolina still has some tough games ahead. They've got to play Texas A&M, which was ranked number 1 at one point. They've got to play LSU for 3 in Columbia, which is ranked number 1 by all the polls right now. So they are going to have to step up their game. And the question will be, now they're going to start Reed Scott tomorrow night against Furman up at Fluor Field. Then they go to Tennessee this weekend. And I'm imagining, and we'll have Coach Holbrook on with us Wednesday night. I imagine they're going to try and stick with Vince Fiore in that Friday starting spot?
Or not the Friday spot. Wynkoop's going to be the Friday
They're going to move him into Friday?
Yeah, the only reason why Wynkoop didn't start game 1 against Vanderbilt is because he had pitched on Saturday. It's a quick turnaround to Thursday. But now that they're going to be back on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule, I would suspect you'll see Winecoop. I know you'll see Winecoop. That's what Holbrook said. You'll see Winecoop on Friday, and then you go from there. Maybe Fiore will start the Saturday game, and then it'll be TBA on Sunday. That's what I would suspect would be the case now. Although Fiore, he threw a career high 5 innings. So he still has to stretch his arm out. Yeah, only one earner. Yeah, he threw well. I mean, he didn't. Yeah. He pitched fine. Most of those runs in the Thursday opener were unearned. I think half of those 12 runs were unearned, maybe more, maybe 7.
They started Clark Schmidt on Sunday or Saturday, and you're right. They kept Mincy and Widener for long stretches for that game to use for long stretches in that game. And Mincy ate up some innings because they took Schmidt out in about the 3rd inning, I think it was, and Mincy came in, and then they went to Widener, and he did a heck of a job. He sat down the last 6 that he faced, 3 of them, 3 down, the 8th and the 9th, and stepped into a tight situation there in the 7th, and was able to get out of it without allowing any runs and protect the lead. That's the kind of formula South Carolina has used over the years to win games. Clutch hitting, getting a lead, and then having a dependable bullpen with somebody who could eat up innings in the middle of the game, and then maybe a setup guy, and then that closer. I'm sitting there thinking during the game, Widener hadn't pitched the entire weekend. And I'm thinking, it's going to be a shame if you go through the weekend and maybe your best arm or your second best arm is not used at all. But that's the risk you run using him only in a closer's role, because you may go through a weekend and he's just not needed either because the games are out of reach both ways. Makes you wonder if at some point in time they're going to decide to go ahead and put him back in a starter's role to at least get some work out of him on a regular basis. But I don't know if you do that if they feel like they have anybody they can put back in that closer's role, because that's such an important job if you're going to be in a bunch of close games like that. So a good weekend for South Carolina, good weekend for Clemson. Brody Kerner is going to start tomorrow night for the Tigers. They go to Georgia. That game's going to be televised on the SEC network, by the way. And Clemson's won 6 in a row. So they're starting to get hot at the right time.
6 of 7. I don't think they've won 6 in a row.
I thought I read in their notes where they had won 6 in a row.
They dropped the middle game in that BC series. They beat them in game 1, lost game 2, won game 3.
They've won 5 in a row.
Yeah,
going for 6 in a row,
and they've won 6 of 7.
Yeah, 5 in a row, going for 6 in a row at Georgia. Then they have 3 at Georgia Tech. Then 3 against Louisville. Then the College of Charleston. So they've got a pretty tough slate ahead, and they will close out
with Florida State
the ACC regular season in Tallahassee. So,
but is the season for Clemson. It's the career. I mean, there's so much on the line. I mean, when is the last time this much has been on the line in terms of the direction a program is going to go? If this can go one of 2 ways. They can go into Durham, coming off a successful month, in a good series at Florida State, feeling good, or it could be a swan song trip to Durham, and the storyline will be Jack Leggett finishing out the string.
Yeah.
And we all hope that that's not going to be the case. They still can't turn. They're starting to play better now.
Oh yeah,
they have some pitching.
I think their starting pitching is, but the potential is seen in that doubleheader when you got Crownover coming in, then Zach Irwin right behind him doing the same thing. You get that dynamic duo going, both in cylinders. I mean, Crownover been doing it all year. It starts with the pitching. They're getting some key hits now. They're getting some big innings early, getting leads early for the pitchers. Clemson looks like they've turned the corner. You can see almost in their body language that they're a different team right now.
All right, going to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We have connected with Shelton Mitchell. So the future Clemson point guard will join us in a moment. And we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. We welcome to the program future Clemson point guard Shelton Mitchell, who's transferring from Vanderbilt to Clemson, made his visit Friday and Saturday, and signed with the Tigers, I think it was last night, maybe this morning. Shelton, how you doing? Welcome to the program.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining us. And congratulations. And, well, you know, you had a chance to go to Clemson at a high school. It's funny how things work out. You eventually got around to, in our way of thinking, doing the right thing and getting to Clemson.
Yeah, it was a long journey. It was a long time. I went through a lot, but I'm here now, so I'm happy.
Tell us about your weekend there and what you saw with your parents and what Coach Brownell and the staff showed you that kind of reinforced what you were already feeling.
Yeah, I basically took a tour basically around campus. I got to hang out with the players a lot, enjoy their company, and we basically just ate and had a good chance to talk to everybody, and I liked it. It was a fun time.
Was it much different? I know you'd visited there previously, coming out of your high school days. Things changed very much from the previous times that you were there?
A couple of things changed, not a lot. They got a couple of new coaches. When I was there, Coach Ray and Coach Grant were there. But other than that, really things were just the same. Still family-oriented. Everyone seemed like they were close in a close-knit group, and that's something that I like.
What do you think of the plans they have for Little John Coliseum? Because when you become eligible, it'll be about when they reopen the building.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be exciting. To be honest with you, I didn't know until I got down there. But, being able to be one of the first guys that plays in the new gym of Little John, that's going to be exciting. I can't wait.
From talking with Coach Brownell, what sort of things did he talk to you about in terms of his strategy and his style of basketball that kind of fits your game?
He basically just said, how much he likes my pace. I love getting others involved and willing to help fish and can pass really well. And also with my ability to be able to just break down the defense. And, that's something that he said that he liked, and I would be able to use at Clemson.
The style of play that he likes, how do you assess that, and what do you find attractive about their style of play?
He's like an attacking, likes attacking, and also the defense and how much he loves defense. That's something that attracted me. I know I'm not one of the greatest defenders now. I think I can improve. So I think that's something where they'll help me and I'll also help them.
What will you do during this year off to improve yourself and get ready for ACC play the following year?
Basically just work hard. I think this year I'll learn a lot because I learned just as much watching as I was playing. So basically just learning from others and being able to take information in while I'm sitting out and also be able to work on my game by myself. I think that'll help me get ready.
Was it tough for you this year not being the man at point guard at Vanderbilt and, as you said, having to sit a good bit?
It wasn't that tough really. I understood what was going on. I understood the system and everything like that. It was hard and it was something I could learn from definitely, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was mad or anything about that.
Sure. Shelton, we got to hit a quick break. Can you hang on with us for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you. Visiting with Shelton Mitchell, headed to Clemson, signing with the Tigers as a transfer from Vanderbilt. We'll talk with him a little bit more after this break on Sports Talk. And we're back, Sports Talk, visiting with Shelton Mitchell, point guard from Vanderbilt, transferring to Clemson. So during your year off that you're going to have from competition, what kind of things can you do with the team from talking with the coaches? What kind of things do they want you doing to, assist them in some form or fashion?
I'm just going to be practicing with them. I think something I can do, we didn't really talk about it as much, but just be positive, be someone positive on the bench that they can all talk to and kind of, not really come to for help, but just when things are going negative, I can talk to them and kind of cheer everybody up.
Can you play any shooting guard? Do you ever shift over and play the two?
In high school, I did a little bit before I went to Oak Hill. We had another guard, and sometimes it took me off the ball to be more of a scoring threat sometimes. So it's something I'm not really familiar with, but that's something that I'd be willing to do if need be.
Yeah, one of the things I think Clemson is looking for is a guy who can finish at the rim, but also in winning time, the free throw line. What type of – how would you describe yourself as a free throw shooter, especially down the stretch?
I'm not perfect, I'd say that, but I know when I go to the free throw line, I have confidence I can knock it down. But I wish I could say I'm perfect, but I'm not. This year I shot probably my lowest percentage of around 77%, and this is the lowest I basically shot in all of high school. So I think I can get better at it, but I think I'm fine.
As far as your offensive game goes, could you be in their offense and with your offensive skills, and you were a scorer, a big-time scorer coming out of high school and also when you went to Oak Hill, could you be a high-teen scorer and distributor of the basketball? Could you see that much offense coming through you?
I could, but it's also what coach wants and needs. I think I can score points when need be, but also like you said, I'm a good passer. I like to get everyone involved. So I think it's just more seeing what I need to do. If the team needs points, okay, if someone else has a hot hand, then give them the ball also.
How do you like the makeup of Clemson's roster and the team for the next couple of years? What kind of how good do you think the Tigers can be next year, and then with you joining the team in 2 seasons?
I think we can be really good. I know for this year also, last year they were really young, and this year they have some experience under the belt, and I'm just looking forward to basically just learning from all of them and being able to play in 2016, 2017.
You signed with Wake Forest coming out of Oak Hill, but Clemson was very much in the mix. How close was it between Wake and Clemson and any others? How close was Clemson to getting you originally coming out of Oak Hill?
They were very close, actually. My final, basically I had like a Final Four, and as you could say, they're both in, and I like them both because they're very close to home. But at the end of the day, I picked Wake Forest. I love the coaching staff there. I love Coach Zelic, Coach Battle, and all of them. And once they kind of got fired, I knew I had to look somewhere else. And Clemson was, of course, on the top of my list. But with the ACC rules, I wasn't going to be able to. So once I kind of opened up my recruiting process, I knew that was going to be a place I wanted to look at seriously.
Yeah. And what happened at Vanderbilt after 1 year? What led you to make the decision that you needed to go somewhere else?
I just think it was personal reasons, like known really. Some of it probably wanted to be closer to home playing the ACC, and I think, at times I didn't fit in the school, but that goes into really with the personal reasons that I'm leaving. I love the team, I love Coach Stallings, I loved everything, but I just thought it was best for me to go somewhere else. All
right. How excited are you about this new opportunity?
I'm very excited. I'm planning to finish out school and finish out finals and then get up there.
Well, best of luck to you, and thanks for joining us here on Sports Talk. Look forward to seeing you with the Tigers in a support role this coming season, but everybody's really going to be excited to see you in 2 seasons when you take off the warm-ups and get on the court.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Shelton, thanks very much, man, and good luck to you. Have a good rest of the school year.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Appreciate it very much. All right, Shelton Mitchell. It's a great pickup for Clemson. I followed him coming out of high school and followed him when he went to Oak Hill because Clemson was in the mix and South Carolina was in the mix some, but it was more Clemson. And, when he signed with Wake Forest, it looked like a great pickup for Jeff Bezdelik and that crowd. And they got fired. He ends up at Vanderbilt. And now Clemson gets him. So this is it's too bad he's got to sit out a year, but
he's got 3 years.
He'll have 3 years to play 3, and I think he's going to be a great player at Clemson. I see no reason why he won't be able to go into Clemson and and give them a tremendous boost when he becomes eligible. All right, thanks to Shelton Mitchell for being with us. Over the weekend, of course, we had the RBC Heritage completed at Harbortown. It was a great tournament, a lot of low scores. And Jim Furyk, the veteran, he'd been in a bit of a spell in terms of winning, a dry spell. It was about a 5-year window there between wins. In fact, his last win came in 2010. One of those wins in 2010 when he was the player of the year was his first RBC Heritage Championship. He won others that year. And now he breaks the dry spell with the win in overtime, so to speak. Sudden death against Kevin Kisner from Aiken. It was a great finish. They both birdied. Well, first of all, Kisner rolls in a long birdie putt on the 72nd hole to force the playoff. And then they go back to 18. They both roll in birdie putts there to force a second playoff hole. So they go back to 17, the par 3. Kisner misses about a 20-footer for birdie, just slid by. And then Furyk knocked in a 12-footer for the win.
That's what you like to see, a guy win it.
Yeah, absolutely. He won it and was quite excited about it. And here is Furyk talking with the media after picking up what was his 18th PGA Tour victory.
To the winner's circle, it's been a few years. If we can get some comments.
Yeah, it's been a little over 4.5 to be exact. I'm well aware. Had to talk about it a lot over those years, and I think that dropping the putter and getting excited on 17, that was a lot of pent-up frustration. So I can't think of a more fitting place to to kind of break that streak and get another win under my belt. This is my favorite event. I love being here. Outside winning another major championship, this is a perfect place to do it. So, really, if you want to go through the round, it was pretty simple. The first 5 holes, I really didn't play that well. I hit some good iron shots, but I really was. I can't say I was leaking oil because I never really got started. I hate playing in the rain. I never felt comfortable with my hands on the grip. I made some just awful swings early on, and I kind of one was okay, but I hit it way right off of 2. It dropped and hit a tree and dropped. I probably only hit the drive 150 yards. I was trying to lay it up down the left side, hit it way right, hit a tree, kind of snuck through, got a nice lie in the rough, and I hit a 9-iron up over the tree's green side and hit it 2 feet, made birdie. So, one good shot and made 4. Tugged it way left off of 3. It was going to definitely be blocked out behind some trees. It hit a tree, kicked right in the fairway, knocked a 5-iron up there about 20 feet, and almost made birdie. Hit it left of the pin at 4. No excuse for that. No one hits it left of the 4th pin today. And I hit it over there 25 feet left. Somehow I caught a corner of the green and knocked in the putt for birdie. And then tugged a drive off of 5 that was headed for the lake, and hit a tree and dropped short of it. And, laid up, hit a nice wedge in there. I missed the putt, but made par. And I was kind of scratching my head that, I felt like I was about 2 over and I was 2 under. So, I really got some good breaks early. And then the putter really just stayed hot. I didn't see a lot of putts go in on Thursday. Didn't see a lot of putts go in on Saturday, but I filled it up today. I didn't leave many out there. And, when you get those days and, when I got off to that start and saw that, I really wasn't playing that well, but I was a couple under, and then I started seeing putts go in and I made a bomb on 8. I started thinking that, this might be the day. It might be the time we get in the winner's circle. And I just knew the whole day I was grinding them back in my head, trying to figure out what I needed to do to strike the ball a little bit better. And made a little setup adjustment after hitting a bad iron into 11. I hit a 5-iron into 11 that I really made I don't know how to say it, a sissy swing. I just very conservative, very unaggressive swing, I guess.
Can you call them sissy swings anymore? That might be misconstrued. 17 PGA wins. I gave him 1 too many. I added the victory yesterday to his total, which had already been updated to show his 17th victory yesterday at Harbortown. Be right back. Well, in the wake of Jim Furyk's happiness and despair for Kevin Kisner, trying to earn his first PGA Tour victory, and came up just short, but what a comeback he had on Sunday to force the playoff and have a chance to win. He would have been the first South Carolinian to win in South Carolina at Harbor Town had he been able to pull it out. He shoots 64 yesterday. All 60s for him for the tournament, 68, 67, 67, 64 to finish at 18 under par. So he showed great fortitude.
Yeah, it would have been neat. I was pulling for him. That would have been cool. Furyk's a good guy. You don't root against Jim Furyk. He's one of the nicer guys on the tour, but a South Carolinian winning Harbor Town would have been a pretty neat story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here is Kevin talking to the media right after the round. Again, forcing the playoff, losing on the second playoff hole to Jim Furyk. Here he is taking questions from reporters.
Kevin, you gave it a very exciting run there on the final day. Tough ending. If you want to kind of take us through the final three holes, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, it was a great day. You know, I knew the scores were going to have to be low, and I was obviously 3 or 4 back to start the day. So my mindset was to shoot low. Every time I looked up, though, on the back nine, Jim was making another birdie. So you had to kind of keep the gas pedal down. And I thought probably the best shot I hit of the day to keep me in it was on 14. I hit it in there close on 14 and about 6 feet for birdie, which is not an easy hole, probably the hardest hole in the back nine. And, you know, I mean, the way I've played 18 both times, I mean, that's just what we dream about, and that's what I work so hard for. So, you know, I hit every shot just like I wanted to coming down the stretch, and that's all you can ever ask for.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Bob? Second.
Kevin, you talked earlier this week about wanting to be the first South Carolinian to win South Carolina's only golf tournament. I know you don't think about that when you're out there, but was there any point where you said to yourself, I'm this close to realizing that dream?
Yeah, you just, for me, my whole goal for the whole day was to stay in the process and, you know, forget about results, stay in the process, and the results will happen. So I never really, I was really proud of myself. I stayed in my process the whole time. I knew I needed birdie 18, and, you know, I did it. So, you know, I never felt like I was in the lead. I was always chasing, so it was never like I was going to win at any moment. You know, Jim obviously made a great putt on 17 to win, and I had a chance, but man, I'm just proud of the way I handled it down the stretch.
Murray?
When did you start to feel that your game was coming on? I was with you last week, and you were, well, I don't know, and now all of a sudden we're sitting here chatting with you at the end of the day after a terrific performance.
You know, my game, you played 4 in a row there before the Masters, and I'd play solid, but just wasn't holding any putts. And I knew this is a golf course that fits me, and you know, it's my home state, my grass I grew up on. I knew I could play well here. And, you know, early in the week, I was just striking it so solidly. And I knew if I could just start holding some putts, I'd have a chance. And I did the last couple of days. And, you know, I made all those 5-6 footers that you have to make to keep the round going, keep the momentum going. And, you know, if I'd have told you I shoot 64 this morning and lose, then I would have taken it.
Pete?
Kevin, you said you didn't allow yourself to think you were going to get you were going to win this tournament.
Yeah.
Even a few moments when you made that putt on the first playoff hole, you didn't allow yourself to think, you know, maybe Jim's going to miss this.
No, you don't expect a guy of Jim's caliber to miss a 6-footer straight up the hill. I didn't realize it was that close from the fairway, but man, when I got up there, I said, I have to make this to have a chance. And he's won what, 7? I played with him yesterday. He said 16 times or something. You don't just luck in 16 wins on the PGA Tour. So obviously he's been there and done it, and he made a great putt on 17. I thought if any of them he'd missed was on 17 because it broke more, but obviously it was a great putt, and hats off to him.
All right, Kevin Kisner, good job by him. That's his highest finish in his career on the PGA Tour. Obviously, biggest payday of his career as well. So that's still, even though he doesn't get the W, it's got to be mighty fine for him in the bank account and also in his confidence moving forward. Just taking a look here, and this might have been a record for the RBC Heritage. I'm not sure. I had to go back and check the record books, but 6 golfers had all 60s for the tournament, which is pretty unusual to have that many to play 4 rounds in the 60s. But Kisner had 4 rounds in the 60s with the best of 64. Troy Merritt 61. Matt Kuchar, whose low round was 66. Louis Oosthuizen, whose low round was 67. Morgan Hoffman had 4 rounds in the 60s with a low of 68. And Bo Van Pelt had 4 rounds in the 60s with a low of 67. So they will go down in the record book as their 60 shooters at Harvard Town. We'll be right back. Yeah, just checking the Heritage record book, and those 60 shooters from this year's tournament, that ties the record for what they call their 60 shooters, all 4 rounds in the 60s, ties the record set in 2003. Can you name those 6 in 2003? Came out?
I cannot.
Davis Love III.
Well, that would have been a good guess. He's won there about 7 times.
Steve Flesh, Matt Gogol, Glenn Nadiak.
2 gloves.
Peter Jacobson. No. And Tim Clark. First time since 2010. First time since 2010 that they've had anybody shoot 4 rounds in the 60s.
Did they have something to do with the
I think the weather was
winds more
conducive.
polite?
Yeah, I think the wind was down for the most part. And because of the wet conditions, even though you lose some distance in terms of the ball rolling in the fairway, you are able to stop the ball on those small greens and cut down on the length of your putts. And those guys were putting up a storm. Big South Men's Golf Championship being played at the Patriot at Grand Harbor in '96. They started yesterday, the first round, had to finish that today, then played the second round, and Coastal leads at 11 under. Liberty's next at 7 under, Gardner Webb at 4, Winthrop at 3 under, Charleston Southern at 1 under. Blake Carter of Longwood leads individually at 6 under. Andrew Dorn of Coastal, R.J. Cure of Charleston Southern, and Zach Seabolt of Winthrop tied with others at 5 under for second place. Southern Conference tournament, they're playing at Pinehurst number 9. You ever played Pinehurst number 9?
Don't think so.
I played Pinehurst 23 one time.
I played 10. I took a 9 on a hole.
You skipped 1 through 8.
East Tennessee State leads at 575. I don't know what that is to par. Greensboro's next, and they are 6 shots back. Then Chattanooga is another 3 shots back. Then Western Carolina. Then Wofford at 588. So 588. They're only 13 shots back, Wofford, after 2 rounds. So Terrier in the Southern Conference Championship. Congratulations to Matt Neesmith of USC, who won the SEC individual championship over the weekend. USC men finished second.
Tied for second, wasn't it? With Vandy?
Yeah, USC women finished
second.
Clemson women in the ACC tournament, I think, finished 8th in their tournament. USC Equestrian wins the national championship, and USC Fishing. It was 2 guys. So does that count as the team? Was it a 2-guy team?
That's a team.
That's
yes.
a team. So that counts as the team. Of course, it's a club sport. It's not an NCAA recognized.
They had a really fancy setup out there by the baseball stadium.
I wonder if, how you douse champions with water.
You throw them in the water.
Well, I wonder if you just doused them with some fish in the water, douse the fish, throw the fish on top of them.
Yeah, the buckets of fish.
Buckets of fish on top of them. Anyway, it goes along with the Gamecocks bowling championship with Guppy Troop way back in the 70s there. So go and look for those trophies too, K-Mac, while you're hunting around.
Right.
That'll do it. We'll see you tomorrow night.